Do you want to make webs for your Spider-Man action figures, like the ones you see here? In this video, I'm going to show you how to make various lengths and sizes for 6-inch and 12-inch action figures, and stick around till the end of the video to see them mounted from the webs that I create. So you're going to need some white floral wire. You can get them on Amazon, they're fairly cheap. This is the package that I got on Amazon. It comes with 100 pieces. I believe it was $6.99, but I'll post the link in the description. So depending on the action figure size, that dictates how many wires you're going to need per web that you're going to create. For 6 to 7 inches, so standard action figure size that you get from like Marvel Legends and the DC Comics version, you can use 2 to 3. And then for the larger size, 12 inches and bigger, I use 3 to 4 depending on the length of the web I'm going to make. So let's start with the 12 inch. So I'm going to grab 4 wires for the 12 inch. And first I'm going to take 2 of those 4 wires. I'm going to take the ends and make sure that they are equal length. And I'm going to twist them together to start with. And then once I get the first part twisted, what I'll do is I'll separate the ends and I'll put my index finger and my thumb in between like this, and then I'll twist with my left hand as I slide along the web that I'm creating, and that makes it simple, easy, and you get the twisted pair that you're going to want at the end. So when you're done twisting, it should look like this. You'll have a twisted pair. So once we have the twisted pair, what we're going to do is take one end and we're going to loop it and create a small circle. This is so we can connect it to an action figure. So create the circle and twist, and it should look just like that. And then you're going to take the other end and do the same thing. Loop it over and twist. Just like that. So you should have a looped end on one and a looped end on the other. Then we're going to take our third wire and we're going to go through one loop like this, and then we're going to bend it over and we're going to make it equal length to the twist, just like that. And then take the long part and wrap it around. This helps to secure the loop in place, plus this extra wire here. Now you can loop around this entire thing until you cover it, or what I like to do is just give a gap, because again it gives it a more organic look. And then towards the end here I'll just cover that last bit of wire, so then it looks like that. So this is where your creativity comes in. The more creative, the more wild you get, the better it's going to look. But essentially you're going to take this single strand of wire and you're going to loosely wrap around your web. You can do it a couple times or you can do it once. I'm going to do it a couple times here to give it more of a organic spin. And then hold this end so that's nice and tight, and then tightly loop around the web. You can do it 3, 4 times, 5 times. It really doesn't matter. It's all up to you. But essentially what you get is something that looks like that. And you're going to repeat this process all the way up until you get to the next loop. So as you get towards the end of this wire like this, what I do is I will space it enough to where the last loop of it is only a couple of turns, 2 or 3 at most. And this is where the fourth wire comes in, because I'm left with this length here. And I'll take the fourth wire, and what I'll do is I'll start under this loose loop here, is I will do a tight turn, just 1 and then 2, and then go around and continue on with this tight spin here. That way I can continue up the rest of this portion of the web. And then what I do for this last run here, what I'll do is go all the way to the end of the loop and I'll give it 2 turns, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is push the end through this loop and then pull it down tight, and then I'm going to wrap tightly around this end, and then so I can cover this bit of wire at the end there, I'm going to push it under that loose loop pull it through, and then you're done. But we have this excess bit of web left here on this wire, so you're going to take a pair of scissors, or even better if you have wire snips, but right now I only have scissors, and you're just going to cut the end off. You can get real close, or you can leave a little bit of looseness. What I do is leave a little bit of looseness at the end there. And don't throw away that extra piece. You can use it on smaller ones for like the 6-inch figures. But then you have this like hanging wire here, and then I'll just even it with the rest of the web. And now you have a about 12-inch long piece of thick webbing for your bigger action figures, 12 inches or bigger. So continuing on with that, we're going to make another set for our 12-inch action figures. And to do that, what we want is 2 wires, because we're going to make the same exact web, but we're going to make it shorter. So instead of 12 inches long, it's going to be around 5 to 6 inches long. So we're going to grab 1 wire, and what we're going to do is bend it in half, even out the ends there, and we're going to create a loop at the end, like this. We're going to twist that. And then as the same as before, index and thumb, and we're going to twist the rest of this. After that, it will look like this. On the other end, same thing we did before, loop it over and twist it together. So now it looks like this. You have 2 loops, 1 on each end. So now we take our second wire, and what I'm going to do on the looped end that has the ending wires here, I'm going to push the wire through the loop, and just like before, line it up with the distance of that loop there, of the loose end wires, bend it down, and then tightly wrap around the start of that loop. So it looks like that. And then same as before, this is where you get creative and make your own design. So loose loop, hold it tight, and do a few tight turns. So it looks like that, and then another loose loop, and then tight turns, another loose loop, tight turns, loose loop, tight turn, and then again push through the other loop, pull tight, and then tight turns. And same as before, the last end, I'll push it through the last loose loop, pull it tight, give it a couple more tight turns, and then I'm going to cut the excess. And then if you're left with a loose end there, just bend it in towards your loop. And now we have a thick but short run of web here. So this is again 5 to 6 inches. So for my 6-inch action figures, what I like to do is make a thinner web, and to do so you just need 2 wires, and we're going to skip the twisted pair process, and we're going to take a single wire, and we're just going to loop one end and twist, and then we're going to go down to the other end, loop it and twist. So we have a single wire with a loop on one end and a loop on the other. And then we're going to take our other wire, push it through the loop, bend it over so it's equal with the other end, and then tight turns until we cover those ends. And then we're going to do a loose loop and then a tight one. And we're going to wrap 4 or 5 times. Okay, it will look like that. And then we're going to repeat that process all the way till we get to the other end of the webbing. Once you get to the other end, right in the middle of that little spin there, we're going to give it a tight turn. Push the wire through the other loop, pull tight, and then give it some more tight turns. And lastly, go through this loose loop and cover the rest of that loose wire. And then you can either lay it flat like this, or if the excess bothers you, again, Take a pair of scissors or wire cutters and just cut that end off. And then lay it flat with the main wire. And there you have about a 12-inch length of single strand web for your smaller 6-inch action figures. For the 6-inch action figure, for a smaller one, instead of a 12-inch length web, if you want to do a 5, 4, 6-inch, still take 2 wires, put the 1 wire aside, and we're going to use the first wire. You're going to create a loop on one end and twist it together. Again, since this is a 6-inch action figure, we want to keep just 1 wire as your main strand of web. And since we want to make it shorter, what we're going to do is kind of find the length that you want and then just bend it there and create a loop and twist it. So then you have this extra wire here, and we're going to cut that off. So now you have this short single strand web for your 6-inch action figure. And we're going to take the other wire and we're going to push it through the loop. Bend it over so it's equal length with the other end of the twist. So it looks like that. And then we're going to grab the loose end, pull tight, and twist. And these are going to be tight loops until we cover the loose end of wire from our starting position. And then this is again where you get creative, but we're going to leave a loose loop, and then we're going to do 4 to 5 turns of tight loop, and then we're going to do loose and then tight. And now we're at the other end of the wire, and we're going to go about midway to our twist here for that loop. We're going to do 2 tight turns like that, and then we're going to push the loose end of the wire through the loop. Pull tight and give some tight turns. To make it easier on yourself with this little extra length of wire left, we're going to cut it about 2/3 of the way down. Again, don't throw away your scraps. Keep them because you can use them for adding effects to your other webs, but take this last bit of wire left and push it through the loose loop and just cover the end of the loose wire. And then for that extra bit left, cut it. And now you have a short 5 to 6-inch single strand web. Now you can see how the webs are soft loop or loose loop, kind of on the same side as the web. But the good thing about them being loose is you can manipulate them so that they're opposite sides. You can push them around, you can bend them, you can kind of create any shape you want to. And just be creative, that way, again, it looks organic. So following that process, I've made myself some various sizes of the 2 and single strand web. Then to add your webs to your figurine, you remove the hand, grab your web, push the loop over the arm, and put your hand back on. If you have it a little bit looser than what you would like, all you have to do is twist. And that will tighten it up. So then it looks like that. That's it. Now let's see what they look like mounted. If you want to keep your XP growth large, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.